And today we're doing our first Meet the Makers, and we're going to talk to the team in New Zealand. Good morning, Mike and Sam.
Hello, Rupert. Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Nice to see you all there.
You want to give us a brief introduction about yourselves? Tell everyone who you are, what you do.
Yep, I'm Sam, and I'm the founder and CEO of Melodics.
And I'm Mike. I've been with Melodics for about 3 years, and I'm working in the engineering team with all of the funky engineers who make all of the awesome software.
So I have been asked to ask you guys how you met.
Oh, yeah. The way you put it sounds like a kind of beginning of a relationship. I mean, I guess anyway, our kids both went to the same primary school. It's a good story.
It is
it's
a
good
good
story.
Yeah, okay.
Primary school, like elementary school. And Mike here was running is a dad at the school, volunteering, running the ukulele orchestra and the band.
Oh, wow.
In particular, the ukulele orchestra. And he'd have like 27 or 8-year-olds sitting around strumming on the ukuleles and teaching them songs, and he was doing an incredible job of it. And my son started going, and I was like, I think this guy needs a bit of help. So I joined in as chief ukulele tuner, because most of them were completely out of tune, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, I just go along, help out. Mike ran the show, and we just got talking, and Mike worked in tech, right? For like New Zealand eBay, running delivery, a huge tech job. And was kind of saying, I don't know about a career in tech. I love doing this. I'd love to be a music teacher. And I was like, well,
Combine the two.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone needs to worry that ukulele is going to be the next instrument added to Melodics. So
I think we've had enough.
I'm done with the ukulele. Yeah.
What's worse, a recorder orchestra or a ukulele orchestra?
Oh, recorder.
Yeah, recorder's worse, but I have heard ukulele referred to as the devil's instrument. But yeah.
I had a great trick when performing at like the school assembly, more with the band than the ukulele. No, also both, I think, which was like pick the 3 or 4 kids that could actually play well, and mic them up, and have everyone else unplugged. And you'd have kids just sitting there, just like looking around, holding it upside down, and just 6-year-olds. They're having a ball. It's a great time, and it sounds pretty good because you've got these 4 or 5 kids holding it down. It was a winning technique.
We used to turn our guitarist down in the mixer in our band, to go to the desk and just turn him down a bit because it was not the best. So it works. Do you want to give us a brief history of Melodics, Sam? How it all began?
Yeah, sure. So the story kind of starts, I think, before Melodics. Before I started this company, I was the CEO of a company called Serato that makes DJ software. And I was there for 10 years and had kind of spent some time in the industry and spent a lot of time working with different instrument manufacturers. And after that, 10 years there, I was like, I really want to start something new. What should I do? And I could see that technology was starting to really change education. But in the space of music, it hadn't really started to happen. It was happening in other industries, but it hadn't really happened in music. Plus, being in the industry, I could see that a lot of the kind of big software companies and big instrument makers were looking more and more to education, and there was this really widespread understanding that lots of people want to make music or want to play music, and there's a lot of keenness, a lot of enthusiasm, but it's really hard to kind of get through the first 6-month hurdle. Yeah. And the unfortunate reality is, like, most people, a huge percentage of people who like get to the point of going into the guitar center or their local music store and buying a guitar or a drum kit or whatever, actually give up within like 3 or 4 months. Like the stats are pretty horrendous. So I thought, that's a problem that I would like to tackle. And I know a bunch of the instrument manufacturers, so I could work with them and they all recognize that it's a problem. So how about I kind of team up with the companies making the instruments, and we work together to deliver something, to make something that helps people to kind of get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like in the early days when it was all just me, just thinking and pen and paper and lots of conversations. I was talking to a good friend of mine who is one of the artists that we've worked with making lessons, a guy called Mark de Clive Lowe. He and I are old school friends, and he's an amazing piano player. And he was asking me, like, how are you gonna really teach when you kind of need to be there to teach? You know, what are you gonna do to analyze how the person is sitting at the keyboard and what their hand position is? Are you going to use like cameras and kind of mapping technology and all this stuff? And I was like, oh wow, that all sounds really, really hard. And so it was kind of at that point I decided to really focus in on the practice side of learning to play an instrument. And I had this kind of core idea is like, if we can make that practice part that a lot of people think of as a kind of a necessary evil, something that they have to kind of grind through and grin and bear and just kind of endure so that they'll come out the other side as a musician. If we can make that part actually really fun and enjoyable and rewarding and make it feel like you're getting something from it, then we'll have something that keeps people motivated and keeps people into it enough that they start actually making some progress and they start actually feeling like they're getting somewhere and learning. So it was right at the very beginning, we kind of really got into this idea of making the practice fun. And I think that set us up really well because, you know, like in the early days, a lot of teachers would ask me, is this something, you know, like, is this a threat to me? Is this something that are you trying to take away from teaching and replace teaching with technology and a computer? And the answer, like after a while, it kind of switched around and teachers would start coming to us and being like, oh, this is brilliant because you actually helping me to get my students to practice. Mm-hmm. And having a real teacher and using Melodics was just like the winning combo. So that was kind of like the original idea. And then because I'd come from this world of electronic music and DJing and working with instrument makers, I decided that, like, just kind of almost from a business point of view, it would make a lot of sense to start in a small niche kind of market. And I could see that pads and pad controllers as a kind of category within the industry were just really, really taking off. There was like this is kind of 2014, so like Machina and Push, I think was around then, the first Push, Ableton Push, and Launchpad, MPCs, of course. All of these kind of pad-based products were really, really exploding. MIDI keyboards all had pads, DJ controllers all had pads. They were everywhere, but it was very hard to learn how to actually do it. And I'd come from the world of this here. I've got just kind of
oh wow,
made it all nice in Melodics yellow. This is my old MPC from 2004. I think I got it. Use us. We're in a part of town that often has fire engines going past. Downtown Auckland. So yeah, I decided to start in that area, and because then, you know, I could see that there was like a really underserved market, small but big enough that we could try and prove it out, test it out. And I had a long history with Ableton because I'd worked with them at Serato, and I was kind of pitching the idea to the CEO of Ableton of like, you know, we could work together. I know that they really saw that first Push and all synths as an instrument, and they wanted it to be treated as an instrument. It's like, that's great. I don't know how to play it. I want to learn how to play it. I want to be able to help people learn how to play it. So let's do a partnership where, you know, you help us reach your customers and we'll help them learn how to play it. Mm-hmm. And Gerhard, the CEO, said, that's great, really interesting. How are you financing this? Because we'd like to help you out. Which was brilliant and more than I expected. And so they came on as our lead investor and helped us kind of hire the first couple of engineers and start product designers and start building out a product.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, I can go on and on about this, Rupert. So I think you need to kind of like.
We're okay for time. We've got an hour scheduled, so 50 minutes. So,
Well, in that case, I'll just roll on to the next one.
Yeah.
And you stop.
No.
Are you getting a lot of background noise?
Getting quite a lot of fire engine in the back, but it's not too bad.
I think, yeah, it's. We'll tell them to tone it down a little bit.
They've
gone.
Okay.
So that was kind of the early first stage. Then that was our first instrument. Always the plan to add more instruments. And as the community has seen, we started in pads and we add keys and then drums and now acoustic drums. So that's part of our natural evolution. We don't add them quickly. We want to like really nail the experience and make sure we have great range of lessons and great structure and curriculum and really good experience before we move on to the next one. But there was a team away day. I think we were about 5 people in the team in 2017. We went away for the day and kind of just brainstormed about what we should do next. And we decided to, that it would be really cool to try hooking up what we'd built to an electronic drum kit. Because after all, it's MIDI and from pads to drums, who knows? It might be a really, really cool experience.
Yeah.
I think half of Auckland is burning down.
I hope it's okay.
And so we decided to do a 1-day all-team exercise. And our software developers, Rich and James, their job was to make the software work. Our head of design at the time, Adam, he was going to make a simple interface with a drum kit. He's an amazing drummer and the biggest skeptic, I think, at that time. He was like, it's just not going to be the same. He was a kind of hardcore drummer, like actually
in a hardcore band.
From a hardcore band.
Right.
And we're like, nah, it's not going to be the same. My job was to go to the local music store and ask if we could borrow a drum kit and pick it up and bring it to the office. And anyway, long story short, by the end of that one day, Adam, our designer and chief drummer, was playing the arm end break. And I've still got videos. I'll post a video in the community of that first time he's playing through it, and he was just like, "This is amazing." And then not long after that, we got in touch with Roland, or possibly even they got in touch with us, because they had this product called DT1, Drum Tutor 1, which was a CD-ROM you could buy, and it was this interactive software that helped you learn to play the drums. And they were like, this is old and needs to be updated, and we're wondering about doing it ourselves or partnering with someone else. And we had built something kind of quite similar. And that was the beginning of our first kind of big drums partnership, because they agreed to bundle it with all V drums, and that really helped it take off. So then we the year after that, we built version 2, which had keys, and we decided that we wanted to make a product that we intentionally called keys, not piano, because we wanted to aim it again at like try and be really specific and really intentional about who it was for, and aim it at people who wanted to make their own music. Because if you're a producer, creator, beat maker, and you want to make your own music, then piano lessons are helpful, but not exactly what you need. So, could we make something that was more like aimed at the person who quite possibly was already making music in a little setup, much like where Mike and I are sitting here. We got a pair of studio monitors on either side of the computer. We got a MIDI keyboard down here in front of us, and maybe you've got a Splice account and you're finding great samples and making beats, or you're kind of drawing in with your mouse, but wouldn't it be cool if you could actually play your keyboard a little bit better? So we went after that audience. And we had those 3 instruments for quite a number of years. And about a year ago, we embarked on our first acoustic instrument. And we chose drums for a number of reasons, but one of them because there wasn't any else out there like that for drums. You know, there were other things like that for keyboard or piano, but nothing quite like that for drums. And I'm going to pause there.
Yeah, Mike, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about the present and possibly the future of what's happening at Melodics?
Yeah, cool. So obviously, drums is it's obviously been one of our most successful products. And that's just down to really the core of the experience. You know, Melodics is a great interface just for timing, and then especially since we I think it's now 2 years ago, added songs to the offering. We just know from talking to drummers and from having our customers talk to us that drummers love to play along with popular music. And so once we reached a licensing deal to be able to add popular music to the platform, and then our awesome music team created all of the cover versions that currently sit within the drums product that our drummers know and love, it's been really taking off. So we're just super excited about where drums is and about where drums also can go. Also, obviously, the massive milestone for us was late last year, adding the ability to do acoustic detection and, you know, expand our offering from not just electronic drum kits to all drum kits. Has just been massive as well, because that means we can go out and talk to all drummers. We don't have to have this little asterisk of, oh, actually it's, you know, it's MIDI only, you've got to be a wide connection, you've got to be an e-drum kit. I mean, it's an interesting market out there because the sales of e-drum kits are on the rise, and by some measures the sales of acoustic drum kits are not on such a rise, because there's and actually the categories are kind of blending into each other a little bit as well. Like now you're seeing drum kits and it's like, oh man, is that an e-drum kit or an acoustic drum kit? So for us, it's just awesome to be able to serve the whole segment and to be able to give what we think is a really cool experience on drums to as many drummers as possible. So so this year for us is all about just trying to reach as many drummers as possible, really trying to, now that we have the acoustic offering there, just trying to tell more drummers about it and get more drummers introduced to and excited about Melodics.
Oh, okay.
So Mike's quite modest. He suffers from typical Kiwi modesty. He actually led the whole project to develop acoustic drums. He'll be very quick to say he didn't do the real magic work. That was our engineering team.
Which it was.
I knew he would. But I think it's kind of worth talking about that a little bit, because it was, at the time we set out to do it, no one had ever done anything like it, and we really weren't sure if it was possible.
Yeah.
And I think we were actually, when we first, well, certainly I was blown away by what the engineers were able to create with that very first prototype. It was by no means a sure thing that we could make something that would even work. And I remember that first time I sat down and play it, I was like, wow, this is like my test was, can I learn to play something that I couldn't play before? Because that's the whole point. Can I take a groove or a pattern that I don't know how to play, and can I use practice mode and slow it down and like figure it out and learn it? And I remember that first time I did that on an acoustic kit, it's like, oh, this is a game changer. This is something totally new.
The other thing that is a game changer is that acoustic kits don't get dampened by headphones. So when you've got an office full of people trying to write software or trying to do designs or do marketing, and you're just like, I just want to test this one tune. And I've been accused of being quite a heavy drummer.
Right.
It all work. So I need to be able to play the drums.
Like playing drums in a corridor or in a stairwell, trying to like hire away.
We've tried of places, Rupert, and we even get comments from down the street. It's like, geez, are you guys testing again? You know, even the acoustic drum kit in my house, my wife is like, oh man, have you finished that acoustic drums project yet? Yeah.
You not have like a drums testing cabin in the woods you could go to like smash it out.
We're sitting in our studio. This is where we film some of our videos and things. It's a bit of a mess at the moment because we're between shoots, but I don't know if you can see, but we have a problem with way too many drum kits. It's not like we've got this nice set of shelves behind us, and it's got like MIDI keyboards all nicely laid out, and you just can't do that with drum kits.
No, take up a lot of space.
So one of the messages to the team here is, if you have space for a drum kit at home, we'd really like it if you could take one home and use it there for a while.
Good message. Okay, so we're about 20 minutes in. Do we want to address some of the questions from the community? Or
sure thing.
Some suggestions. Quite a lot of suggestions coming through as always. Someone was asking like, how much attention do we pay to like our feedback section here in the community? Like the suggestions that come through, like how important is that? How much do we focus on that?
Yeah, cool. I'm glad this one came up because I think I'll just do a little bit of a preamble about like how I like to talk to the community and to customers about feature suggestions. Because I think the number one thing is I'm really, really cautious about over-promising. So I will be a bit vague, and that's because I don't know, 20 years in software, I've been burnt a few times in the past by saying this is coming, and then it didn't come for quite some time. Because you just never really know. Something that you might be like really actively working on, something might come up, or you have the plans to do something, but things come along and change. Making software is a very, very fluid thing. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is like, it's hard, I think, for people who are using software that they love and they're waiting for stuff that so obviously should be done. The reality is we have like 5-10 years worth of stuff that we want to do. And it takes quite a bit of time to make really, really good software. So it's not like when something comes up that's a really good idea or a really obvious idea, it's not like, no, we've decided not to do that. So much of it, and I want this to not come across as a bit of a brush off of just saying it's on the list, but the reality is so much of it is on the list. And one thing is, it doesn't make sense in software. I don't know if no doubt there'll be some people in the community who are in some way involved in software, and they will have heard, any software developer or person involved with it will have heard about the waterfall way of doing it or agile software methodologies. The point being, it doesn't make sense to plan 5 years out because you don't know how one particular change or feature or new thing is going to go, and everything that you do impacts what comes later. So what that means is, we plan really solidly for a window. Like we have these kind of rolling windows of 3 months where we know exactly what we're going to do, and 6 months where we've got the plan, and then out 2-3 years it's like we think we're going to go in this kind of direction. But every 3 to 6 months, like once a quarter, certainly a few times a year, we sit down and we reconsider everything coming up, and it's like, is this still the right sequence? Does this still make sense? And one of the huge inputs to that is, what are our customers telling us?
Yeah.
What are people saying that they want? Because we might address the number one thing, and then people might say, oh yeah, cool, okay, that's done, thanks, on to the next thing. Or they might say, oh yeah, turns out I didn't really need that after all, but thanks anyway. Or they might say, you've only just scratched the surface. I hope you do this and this and this and this to keep improving that, and don't stop there and keep going. So it is a very fluid thing, and it might feel like you are coming into the community and like banging your head against a brick wall with this company that's not listening to you and not doing the things that you're saying. But we are constantly in there looking to see what is the number one, what are people talking about, okay, we've delivered that bit of software, what comes next? And yeah, so it is, please keep doing it. Please know that we are certainly paying attention, and also that we understand that kind of frustration, in fact, it's not unusual for people in the company to also be quite frustrated. And especially we have a lot of amazing music teachers and musicians in our team who, when they first joined, didn't have that experience of software development. And I remember, I think, Rupert, the first time we met in Berlin, maybe many years ago, talking about this thing, about the software development process, and talking to some of the teachers in our team who are like, why haven't we done this thing yet? Of course we should do this. And just having this same conversation of it takes quite a while to do these things properly. And just because we haven't done it certainly doesn't mean we don't want to do it. It's just that we can't. There's a certain speed that we can. We're a small team. Melodics is 20 people, 21 people. So we're not a huge team. There's only so much we can do, and we want to do things, do it right. Anyway, I think that answers the question, even with all of the ramble.
I would add though that actually we love the suggestions. It's actually just super cool to receive feedback from our customers and from our community, because it means that our customers and community are using the product and they care and they want it to be even better. So just fundamentally, please keep doing it because we love it.
Yeah, and we have a tool that we use called Slack, which is a lot like Discord, and the things that you are writing on Discord get reposted in Slack, and most of the companies see them, and we're all talking about them, and there's a huge amount of yes, this is great. We should be doing this. Yes, we should do that.
Yeah, it all gets collated and it's all fed back into the company directly. So even if we can't respond to every comment, we are listening and we are reading them and we are sharing them and we're thinking about them all the time. So just keep sharing them.
As someone who makes software for a living, I send off my requests and my feedback to other companies, and I get this message, thanks, I've passed that on to the product development team. And I just know what that's like on, both sides. And I imagine people being like, sure you have, you just threw it in the bin. But I know actually there'll be people, because the product developers are hungry for all the information they can get in order to make the right decisions.
Okay. Maybe we address some of the suggestions that have come through.
Cool.
Are we going to have mobile Melodics?
Mobile. Yeah, I can say mobile is an area that we are very, very, very interested in. And what else should I say? I think it's particularly well suited to drumming and acoustic drumming in particular, because you don't need the cables and the dongles. And if you've just got your phone there and can sit down and play, that would be amazing. So that one is high confidence, watch this space.
Okay. But phones are extremely powerful nowadays, right? So they can handle quite a lot of stuff.
Totally. And we've done enough testing to know that the acoustic detection technology we have works perfectly well on an iPhone.
Guitar? Any chance of guitar for Melodics? Melodics for guitar?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to. And it's always been as you can see, and as I talked about earlier, it's always been this kind of strategy of add an instrument, get really, really good at it, nail it, and then look at the next one and move on. But guitar is, I would say, not coming anytime soon. I would love to do it, but we need to be bigger. We're just a bit too small, I think, to tackle that one in the near future. We'd love to. The best thing you can do is tell your friends about Melodics. We'll grow. We'll get there.
So ukulele next, right? No? Okay.
No.
In the office, practicing ukulele, everyone.
No.
Okay.
Right. I'll go on sick leave. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a soft spot for the ukulele, but no.
Okay. A big one, sheet music. is this going to happen? Especially drum notation, lots of questions about that, and obviously sheet music for keys.
Sheet music is, I'm pretty sure, still our number one feature request.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, it was our number one feature request. It has been the number one feature request for, I think, quite some time. And so it's something we have to cater for and we want to cater for. The thing is, like, the thing that we're thinking about is, like, do we do a real straight up traditional implementation of sheet music, just like exactly how it's done by everyone else and how it's always been done? Mm-hmm. Or is there a kind of more modern take on it, and should we be thinking about how we can kind of evolve it? Related to that is, like, how interactive should it be? At one end of the scale, you've got just a static display, just like sheet music is, and it's an option that you can turn on and just have the sheet music there.
Yeah.
But of course, what we do, our specialty and the kind of essence of Melodics is that it's interactive and you get this real-time feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have quite a strong take on sheet music, and it's not universally represented within the company. Lots of other people have very different takes on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing, I think, issue I have with sheet music is that it doesn't really represent timing in a way that gives you enough granularity to that modern music is so much about timing and rhythm. And like, sheet music is a wonderful medium for lots and lots of things, particularly, like when it was developed, it was used to capture harmonies and melodies. It doesn't really express groove in any particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great quote that just came up in a conversation years ago from a quote from Roddy, our head of education. And he said, Beethoven might have had mad groove, but we just don't know because the way that his music was recorded is in sheet music, and you can't really tell from sheet music. So, like, those are the things that we're really examining is, like, does it need to have some element of what I think we do so well, which is help you learn that kind of micro timing that gives music feel, which I feel like is such an important element of modern music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's super, super high on the list, and we know it's something that, like, people expect and people need, and a lot of the discussion is like, what line should we take on it?
And just to that point on drum notation as well, we've talked to heaps of drummers about how much they would like stave notation for drums. And there's a really broad range of answers that we get back. A lot of drummers tell us, no, stave notation is a really hard read, especially at the top where you're getting up to those top distinctions between crash and hi-hats and that sort of thing. So they do like our the way that we present, and there are steps that we can do. So we've already done a very, very early step of doing very consistent track ordering.
Mm-hmm.
We've also had users ask us, hey, it would be awesome to just see every track always, or at least be able to turn on, show me every track, so that things are in consistent positions. Great, that's something we'd like to do. Then you could have ordering as per stave notation, which we don't, there's a lot of drummers that tell us that isn't the most logical ordering for a drum kit, because you really want kick, snare, hats down the bottom, then you want your toms, then you want your cymbals, and that is not the ordering of stave notation. But a lot of people that do use stave notation would like that option. So there's various options that we can do along that journey, and like Sam says, the real moonshot is how can we do stave notation in a way that really is interactive and really conveys timing really well. So we don't just want to do it, here's a visual of what the stave notation looks like. We've seen other organizations and software do that, and we don't think it's good enough for our users sometimes.
I think there's also, like, quite a strong voice that comes back from our customers of, like, other products do that. That's not why I came to Melodics. I came because you have a more kind of modern, interesting take that's more useful for me on how it's displayed, and I'd like you to keep it that way. So then there's also like, does that mean that we would switch to a save notation view, or would it be that it would be optional and that you could choose how you want to learn? So I'm hoping that this session prompts some discussion within the community afterwards about these topics, and it's one that we're like super interested in hearing from people about.
Yeah, I'd be keen to open up a discussion in the community where everyone can give their thoughts, so we can carry on the conversation, and then we can feed back the everyone's comments to the team, and we can talk about it and discuss it.
Oh, actually, Rupert, one other thing I wanted to say is, like, it seems like a lot of the questions were about upcoming features, feature requests, and product discussions. So I think, like, if this format works well, it would be quite cool to do a follow-up that's pretty much like just on that topic, and we could bring in some of the product designers, some of the engineers, and like really drill even more into it, because I love talking about this.
There was a lot of questions about grading and how we pick our lessons and stuff like that. So also we could do one with the music team and get some of my team in to talk about that as well.
Cool.
Another big one is streaks, like how we deal with streaks. At the moment, some people lose their streaks and they get a bit demotivated, and they find it hard to come back and start practicing again. So like, are we going to look to change that? Is there going to be any changes with streaks? And
I think this one, I'm not sure of the timing. I don't want to. I feel very, very strongly about this one, but I also need to kind of put a bit of a disclaimer on of like, I don't know when we'll be able to address it, but I do think it needs to be addressed, because there's such a double-edged sword, streaks. And we have quite a few cases of people saying that they were super into learning their instrument and they were 400 days in a row, and then they lost their streak, and then they got so motivated by that they stopped playing their instrument. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's like, if the whole goal is to help people to be more motivated to keep at it and keep practicing and keep getting better and learn their instrument, really master their instrument, and we've created something that's intended to help them like really stay motivated and want to keep going, and the actual effect of it is that we're making them give up, then that's a fail. We've failed. So that definitely is something that needs to be better. And then within that, streak savers or different methods that streaks are a really established kind of way of doing things, and Duolingo has always been a big kind of inspiration for me, and Duolingo streaks are like a big feature of it, and lots of people talk about how it helps them to kind of stick with it. Mm-hmm. And they do streak savers, so that's one way of addressing it. Like, I question if, given how badly they can backfire, if we should have streaks at all, or if there are better kind of mechanics that we should. The kind of like systems that we use to help keep you motivated are like definitely under review and constantly something that we want to be working on. And streaks is like, you can definitely say it's not perfect the way it is. It's got some issues.
Okay. Let's have a look here. So someone was asking about like technique videos. We started adding a bit of video into Melodics. Is be more of that? Are we going to see kind of more videos focused on drum techniques? Like, I'm not much of a drummer myself, but me
Mike neither.
Yeah, let's pass to Mike. We get more video into the app is basically the question. Like,
I'll talk about that.
Through.
Cool. And then talk a little bit about, I think actually we've in the community is a great way that we can address some of the stuff. We've got some good plans there, but yes is the short answer. Definitely something we want to do more of, and you'll have seen that start this year with some of the videos that we've brought in with Beatmaker Bootcamp and some of the collabs that we've done with Drum Channel. And what I think that we're good at is the interactive software part. And I think what that interactive software tool is good for is certain things like, like the way I use Melodics, and when I'm learning to play the drum part, I don't know, going into practice mode and slowing it down, and I start off in wait mode to try and just kind of get the movements there, and I use auto BPM to kind of build it up. It's really useful for that stuff. What interactive software is not good for is like showing how to move your foot on the kick pedal to get a faster double, or like exactly how you should be sitting, where your hands should be. So I think that there are some things that video is totally the right format for. We're not going to become a primarily video-based platform. We're not going to try and kind of become like a YouTube channel that has like our main thing that we make is video. But we do want to add more and more, and I do think it is much, much better at explaining some things like technique than software is. Like it's all about like how do we help people develop and learn and get better. And so I think it's a mix of what we do really well with the software and then bringing in the right videos. And we've started off with a lot of partnerships because it's not our specialty, and we want to work with companies that have done this a lot.
Yeah.
And what we're identifying is like there's a few core things that we like, they really fit with our learning method, and they fit with like how we teach and how people progress, that we should probably do ourselves. So I think you'll see a bit more of like us doing some things ourselves to address specific stuff. And then there's a really good connection with the community as well, of like developing this sort of content together with the community and doing these sorts of sessions. And then I have this dream of like finding the best parts of these community events that you run so well, Rupert, and like extracting little bits of it and making that either inspiration for video that should go in the app, or just like if we had an amazing artist talking about technique together with the community, like, hey, that part would go really well at this stage of the learning journey.
Yeah, and just to add for that, for me, it's been a really cool milestone for us too this year. Just integrating more video in with our lessons. So having really a flow, which you would have seen from some of our featured courses about, hey, you really want to nail this song. Well, here's a video which explains a part of the technique that is crucial to it, and here's potentially a melodics lesson which takes you through that learning outcome, and then here's another video, and then right at the end, you're ready to play Another One Bites the Dust by Queen or something like that. So experimenting with that sort of flow and that sort of content it's really cool for us, because it's a bit of a new space, and we think it works in really well with our lessons. And Beatmaker Bootcamp was a really good example of that, where you can have a really great teacher and artist like Tatro, and combined with melodics lessons and melodic songs, it can be a really cool experience for our customers.
There's one more thing on that, Rupert, is one thing I've been thinking about a lot, and I think is important for our the future direction, is it's hard to find time to practice your instrument, and the reality is you only get to do it a certain amount of time in any given week, because you have to be at your instrument, you have to dedicate some time, you got to make the time and be in that space. If you're playing a little pad controller, you got a bit more flexibility. If you're playing an 88 key keyboard, you got a bit less. A drum kit, you're not going to like take it around with you and find moments to practice at lunchtime. It's like it's there, it's in your studio, it's at home, and you can only do it when you're there and when you got the time. And so the other thing I'm thinking about with video and with the community is like what can we create that helps people to learn and helps people to practice and progress, that they can do when they're on the bus or on lunch break or other times and places, so that you can have opportunities to learn, and we can help people to learn and progress when they're away from their instrument.
The one thing I'd add to that is that, yes, it is difficult finding time to practice, but we do see the leaderboards that get posted here, and we do see the number of hours that our top 10 practice, and man, it's epic.
Yeah.
I think it was 16 hours this last week. I can't remember. Sorry, the user. Yeah, Thierry, I see your numbers every week. It's epic. So so very impressive.
Yeah.
And we've also got a office leaderboard as well.
I was going to come on to that. Yeah.
Yeah, Melodics employees leaderboard. It's not as impressive as what we're seeing from the community, but we're inspired by those numbers for sure.
I mean, we can cheese that leaderboard by working on stuff in the app. So especially making lessons. Just a few hours.
To address one of the questions I saw come up beforehand. Am I a good player? I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, I got it. How often do you practice yourself, and how good are you at melodics? Like, do you know your levels?
Playing instruments?
No,
not very good.
Right.
I think a lot of people, when I tell them what I do for a living, and this company I started, they're like, "Are you a musician?" And I'm kind of like, "Well, I kind of started this company because I'd been trying to learn to play instruments all my life and never really got anywhere."
Mm-hmm.
Actually, since we started doing that internal leaderboard, I have like quadrupled how much I play, and I'm always trying to make the top 3 within the company if I can. And I've just really thrown myself into keys, and I've learned how to play Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead, and I can sit down at a piano and play it now.
So good.
Almost. And that's a grade 9. That's way above my kind of natural level, is more like grade 5 or 6.
It's a lot of repetition. It's hard on the hands.
It's such a good lesson, though. I love it.
Yeah.
And then also, I went from 0 to taking a drum kit home during the pandemic, and I can now hold down a reasonable beat. But I would say when it comes to music and playing instruments, I'm a fairly slow learner. But it's funny that a lot of that kind of transfers into the philosophy of melodics. Like if I was more naturally talented, perhaps things would be a bit different. But I'm all about like, you just got to put in the work and enjoy it as you're doing it. And it's not about like a means to an end to pop out the other side as a musician or a talented player. Like every little thing that you learn is fun, and you should enjoy. So
everyone's a musician.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a music producer for like 20 years, and when I say, "Oh, I'm a music producer," people are like, "Oh, do you play an instrument?" I'm like, well, kind of. I just normally just draw notes on the screen, but I can play some instruments. Let's see. Let's look at more questions. Is there going to be like a playlist feature? Will people be able to build their own practice routines from melodics lessons?
That's one we're super interested in, and like really recognize that there's a lot we could do on like structuring your practice. I'm quite keen to do a few events, Rupert, like with our music team and with our teachers on like what's the best way to set up your practice. I'm very lucky because I've got Crystal, who's our instrument lead on keys, sitting kind of next to me, and when I've in the last few months have like put lots more hours into playing keys, I've just been asking her, and she gave me this little cheat list of like, okay, so you want to learn Everything in Its Right Place, and you're learning Roy G. Biv, Boards of Canada, and Rhodes Portishead. I think you should do these exercises and these scales, and you should probably do like a few minutes of warm up, and then go do one of the easy ones, then do the hard one, and then reward yourself at the end with one that you know how to play, and that would make a really good session.
Yeah,
like, oh, this is cool stuff, and we need to like create the tools and the software to help people, like at the very least, capture and structure that so they could do it themselves, set it up that way. But even ideally, be a bit more proactive and like, is this the lesson that you're working on? Is this the groove that you're trying to learn? We recommend that you do these rudiments, or that you do these scales. This will help you warm up. This will help you develop the muscle memory.
Yeah, it's something that comes up a lot. It's something we've discussed in the community, and I've also discussed it with the music team as well. So it's something we are thinking about. What else can we look? Got through quite a lot of questions. Are there going to be any plans for like a family plan, a multi-user kind of environment?
Yeah, again, that's something that like definitely see the need. I mean, let me put it this way: I've my son into playing the drums, and I got personally quite frustrated with switching between our two accounts, and it got to the point where I borrowed an iPad from work and had two different iPads that we could onto the little iPad holder on the drum kit rather than switching between our two different accounts. And so that's not right. We should be able to like easily jump back in between his account and my account. And the whole reason that we were doing that was so that he could have his own account and his own progress and his own favorites, and be doing everything at his own pace. So like a family plan where it's one plan paid for, but the different members have their own account progress makes total sense.
Yeah, something that comes up a lot. We do get asked about it in support and in the community. Yeah. Okay.
Is it possible to have? I see one question saying, "Is it possible to have a discount C code?" Yeah, sure.
Discount code. Yeah. Just tag Reese. He loves to give out codes. Just at Reese and ask him, and he will get in touch.
Say Sam said it was okay. No.
I think Reese is he can wave. I don't know. There's lots of questions about the lessons, and I can address that separate because it's more of a music team kind of question, and I can speak to our team, Crystal especially. People asking about the lesson buddy, lesson making. Will this be will this be worked on? Will there be something for Windows? Because I know a lot of our Windows users are kind of feel like they're missing out because they can't do it. So there's something we're looking at.
Yeah, I'm glad we've got this one. What's the time now? Oh, we've got a little bit of time left. I'm glad this one came out because I'm pretty sure this is our number 2 feature request, right? Being able to make your own lessons.
I think that and family plans are probably about equal.
It's certainly up there. And it's something that we've like made a couple of attempts at over the years. And we've done it like as a kind of a beta or even like an alpha, like unfinished software, just to kind of test it out with some people. First thing I'd say is we have definitely not nailed it on our side. The way that we implemented it was not quite enough, or too complicated, not very user friendly. It was all just kind of like testing it out.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, we've done it a few times. Both times we've done it, there hasn't been a huge amount of uptake, or not a lot of like. It didn't seem like lots of people were using it, or lots of people were really getting into it. So it's one of these things that people were asking for, but when we created something, didn't get a lot of excitement. And again, first thing is, I think it's because we hadn't done it right. About a month ago or something, I jumped into it myself and I made like 4 or 5 keys lessons for myself. And yeah, it was pretty hard to use. So that was the first thing, is like, probably need to make it easier. But also the way we approached it was like a tool to make a lesson in the same way that we make a lesson, but simpler. Obviously not simple enough.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, what is it that people actually want to do? And maybe there's a different approach to it that's not like, I want to get my own MIDI. I actually find getting the MIDI and cleaning the MIDI and getting it actually arranged the way that I wanted it to be was by far the hardest part. And I'm no expert at that sort of thing. But it took a lot of time and work to get that right. So, is it more like we need a kind of web-based interactive tool where you can take a starting place and just kind of move things around and make it your own? Or is it more that people want to take the grooves that they're learning on drums, say, for example, but up their own backing tracks? Or, there's some awesome examples of online sequences for both production and kind of drummers, where it's a web-based sequencer interface and you put in your kicks and snares and hi-hat and be like, cool, I've made a pattern that I really want to learn click a button and you can open it up in Melodics and learn that. So yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to actually address that is. But again, coming back to right where we started about the feedback that you all give us, is that we know that it's right up there. We know that it's something that people are asking about and talking about. And yeah, we've made a few attempts we haven't got right yet, but that doesn't mean that we will stop. There's definitely more to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like the way we make lessons is kind of complicated. The way that we use tools, it's kind of complicated. It's difficult to explain it in a way. Yeah, we're still using Live 10, I think, to make those lessons, so it's a bit out of date. Do we have any more questions? Well, I think we've covered a lot of things from
there's
questions.
There's a question I'd like to put back to the audience. This has been amazing. Thank you. I really love talking about this stuff. I really enjoy it. I'm really thrilled by the turnout. It's amazing turnout. So if you'd like to see another one of these types of events, please let us know, because it sounds like there's maybe one with the music team about how we make lessons and how we structure things, all that sort of thing. There's possibly another one that we could go like just much deeper into feature requests, and like it sounds like we've worked through kind of like the top 3. Mm-hmm. There's a very, very long list, and there's some pretty awesome stuff even down around the number 20 to 30 kind of list of features.
Yeah.
So be keen to dive into that, or any other topics you'd like to cover.
Yeah, and if you have any more questions or suggestions, you can just share them in. I'll leave the event questions up for a little while so people can keep sharing their questions in there, and we can try and address them. And I'll collate all the feedback and suggestions, and we'll share it with the team, the wider team. There was questions about like future producer events in the community, and yes, we will be doing those more. So we'll do some more producer ones. I think Dom is coming back next week, and we're going to do some more track feedback. So I'll start getting into that tomorrow. But yeah, is there anything else you want to add, Sam, before we wrap up, or Mike?
Just thank you very, very much for everything that you contribute to the community. Like I think the magic of an online community is not what we do as the company that started it and hosts it. It really all comes from what you do and the conversations that you start and you're having. So thanks. And it's really, really exciting for us to watch people talk about the thing that we love making it, and we work hard every day to make a cool product, and the reward is actually hearing people talking about how they use it and what it means for them. So.
Yeah, that's a +1 from me as well. Same sort of deal. Like the more that we hear people talking about how they're using Melodics, how they're enjoying Melodics, and how they'd like to see Melodics even better, it's really engaging for us, and it really gets us out of bed in the morning. I'm just seeing names in the audience. We recognize you, we hear you. We see lots of discussion with people that we recognize, and Mr. Sam and Terry. I love your playthrough videos, and I'm very inspired by the amount of black stars you've managed to get. So that's actually inspired how we do some of our practice as well. So it's a very live community. It's a very cool community, and we really appreciate you all. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thanks for waking up early in the morning and coming to the office.
Thanks for the great seeing and hosting, Rupert.
No problem. I will see everyone next week for our track feedback with Dom. Start sharing your tracks in Music Share, and we'll get to that over the week. And then I hope everyone has a lovely day, evening, night, afternoon, wherever you are. So we'll see you all next time. Thanks, guys.